Bom dia a todos, meu nome é Dani Gamerman, sou professor de Estatística da Universidade Federal do Rio de Janeiro. Eu estou tendo aqui o prazer de entrevistar o Professor Sir David Spiegelhalter, conferencista de abertura do SINAP, que está sendo realizado aqui em Porto Alegre. Good afternoon. I'd like to ask you first, how did you get into statistics and then how you get into communicating statistics to the general public?
I got into statistics because I started off doing pure mathematics in university, which I really liked, but it got too difficult. So I thought, what else could I do? Well, I'll do statistics. And it was a great decision because I found statistics is a wonderful combination of quite difficult concepts and yet very important applications. So I've worked as a research statistician, but getting increasingly interested in applications. And then I started doing some public work at science festivals, talking to just ordinary public groups, even some schools work. And then finally, I got offered this job. Amazing that it's a job. It's it's supported by a hedge fund, a finance company, because my sort of job, you would never get this funding from the government to do it. So it's a piece of charity to support me to do work in statistics communication. And that's what I've done now for 9 years. And it's been a wonderful opportunity.
The next question is, how hard and how easy you think this specific kind of job it is to do, and how do you evaluate the pros and cons of it?
It's not easy, and it's not for everybody. I was lucky in my previous job, I got media training. So we were trained to be in front of a camera, to write press releases, to be interviewed, sometimes quite aggressively, and that was very useful indeed. And I still feel, though, I'm learning all the time. It's because I've done some television and I've written for newspapers and I do quite a lot of radio, news stories. And some of those are recorded in a studio, and some of them are done live to really big millions and millions of people listening. And you never know quite what you're going to be asked. So that's the most difficult thing, I think. It's very exciting, really get very nervous, but it's also a very good opportunity to try to explain the value of statistical thinking, of thinking in terms of uncertainty and thinking in terms of evidence for conclusions.
Now the question is, what do you think is the status of statistics nowadays in society? Even after the work that you have done, do you think there will be need for 1,000 more people like you? Or what is your evaluation of how society perceives us and how we can improve, or do we need to improve it?
It's a long path, I think, to try to get numbers, statistics, and evidence taken seriously in the news, in society, in politics, in just general discussion. And I think there's a reason for that. I think that ideas of chance, of probability, of statistics, they're genuinely difficult. They're genuinely not intuitive. And so people find these things, they feel they should know about this, but actually they find it very easy just don't listen, I don't want to know. So you have to find a way to make the statistics more attractive. You've got to tell stories, often personal stories. They always want to know about personal stories. So it really is a form of journalism, but in which the statistics are there as well. Now, it's not just me. Many people are now trying to do this. Some good journalists in data journalism, for example. There are in Britain some very good radio programs that are trying to do this, and organizations that are trying to improve the way that statistics are used, that check what politicians say and then try to publicize it when they make false claims. So it's a sort of ecology of different groups and people all trying to move towards this use of balanced, public, honest information. But it's very slow. I think in Britain we are making some progress, but it's not fast.
So in order to try to speed things up or prepare ourselves well, do you think there is a need to change the way we train statisticians as a first degree and even at a higher level degree like a PhD? Do you think there is a need for change? And if there is, what change is needed?
That's very difficult because I think statisticians are taught to make conclusions and to use graphics and to summarize their conclusions, but they're not taught to do the next stage, which is to turn it into an attractive story that people want to read. So statisticians usually will prepare technical reports, but not go to that next stage of producing work that's popular and attractive. So, and it's not for everybody. I don't think, not all statisticians want to do this performance almost. But I think some do, and can be a very useful training to have. In the Royal Statistical Society now, we have 20 statistical ambassadors, young statisticians, who are being trained. We're given media training and encouragement to get involved. Some of them have already been on television, they've been on the radio, they work with journalists, and on top of their normal job. Because it always helps if you have got a good job, if you're a respectable scientist or academic, that is very useful because then the media, will listen to your opinion more. So it's not for everybody, but I think it will become an increasing part of statistics training for some people. Also because of data journalism, the role of infographics in processing and communicating good data. Many people want to learn about this, and there are ways they can be taught.
Okay, and finally, how do you see the role and the future of statistics in general? I know you mentioned that during your talk in the opening session, and I'd like to give you the opportunity to be more descriptive of representation of your views about where is lying the future of statistics, if there is any, and I hope there is, and especially compare with our colleagues or competitors, if you like, which are the computer scientists, the data analysts, and the mathematicians as well.
I think this is a very exciting and challenging time for statistics. I think there's a revolution going on. And as you said, the data science and computer science, we can see them as competitors. I think of it as an opportunity to join together to work towards a new combination. Now, that doesn't mean that statistics will be absorbed, because I think that basically people coming towards data from computer science, data analytics, have got a different aim. It's generally a technological aim, to make predictions, to make classification, to make things work. It's not generally a scientific aim. It's not to do with using the data and evaluating the evidence in order to learn about the world. And that's what statisticians are so good at. That's what their training is for. It's not just it's not the processing and the presentation of the data and the development into technological tools. That is incredibly valuable, but statistics brings this extra element in, which is to do with the processing of evidence, and which is completely general and is not going to go out of fashion. Because as there's more data, people will be interested even more in what does it mean? What can we learn from this? Can we learn about what causes disease? What might happen in epidemics? And for that, you need knowledge of the subject matter. You need good computational skills, but you also need skills in statistical inference and knowing what you can learn from data. So I love, big data. I love data science. I think it's great. They've got some wonderful ideas, but any idea that this somehow means that statistics isn't important is a delusion, because so many of the statistical problems we know about get worse when you've got more data. ideas of bias in the data, needing a representative sample, ideas of multiple testing. If you keep on looking, you'll always find something. Ideas of mistaking correlations with causation. All those aspects get worse when you've got lots of data. So I'm optimistic. I don't think statistics is going to die out, and we have to find a way to work with our colleagues in data science.
Any tips for or advice, if you like, for young statisticians starting their career?
Oh, yeah. It seems so long ago. Yeah, interesting. I actually think to do as much maths as you can. I think it always repays to do as much maths as you can to really have a sound theoretical, foundational understanding of the issues. But that's only useful because it helps you to answer practical problems, I believe. So you should also start learning about the techniques being used in machine learning, the techniques being used in some of the algorithms, in some of the data processing, some of the computational methods, and so on. You need to know R, and although I don't know it, Python as well. So that's the sort of distinct additional skills that I think will be needed by many statisticians in the future.
Thank you very much.